Hi all, how's it going? My name is Jesse. I've been dealing with foot drop for 10 years now this week. So I thought I would take this week to reflect a little bit on my journey so far and maybe some of the methods that I've used or braces and AFOs and my experience with them, just to see if that helped with anyone who's starting out their journey with foot drop. Um, I've got a lot of thoughts on maybe some of the things that we need to think about as far as our nerves, dealing with pain, things like that. But I did want to just spend this video just talking a little bit specifically about some of the braces, AFOs, or orthosis that's available and that I have used and trialed, and what I'm using now. So that's me. Um, I have 100% foot drop on my left-hand side, and I have no inversion or eversion of my foot either. However, I do have plantar flexion, so I can place my foot down. I can push off. It's not as strong, obviously, as my good leg because my nerve is damaged all the way from my L5 all the way down, with 0 from the knee down as far as that dorsiflexion goes. Also, because I don't have inversion or eversion at all, I'm not a tendon transfer candidate. So yes, that's me. Everyone has differences and different capabilities. Yeah, so for me, a brace is very important for being able to get out, get around. The brace not only needs to help you with some kind of return or some ability to walk, but also to help you from rolling your ankle. That's probably one injuries that I've kind of had since that I really don't want to do again. Yeah, that's something we have to be really careful about for sure. My journey started off with some very basic braces, just simple rigid things to just strappings and stuff like that, whilst I was still coming to terms with my foot drop, what it meant, what I could do, what I couldn't do. I've used like a foot up Dickus band style. That was probably one of the very first things that I used. That is this thing here. So it is basically just something that goes around your ankle. I don't have the original rubber strap that goes on this, so I'm just using this just for show and tell, really. But essentially, that sits on your leg, something like this, and then attaches to the front of your shoe. And yeah, you can see how that works. It's a very basic, very simple device. Some of the downsides with this particular brace is just the nature of the design, really. One, it doesn't really provide much in the way of ankle support at all. So yeah, it doesn't help with stopping you from rolling your ankle. But also this particular one, look, I don't know if they're all like this, but this particular one's made from leather, which means it's actually a little bit slippery. So what happens is you can think about this pulling, from your shoe, it kind of pulls down on your leg, right? So then you go and tighten this as much as possible, right? You make it real tight. And in the process of doing that, you start cutting off your already restricted blood flow and your already restricted nerves and all the rest of it. So it's kind of, it's a catch-22 situation. It can kind of get you from A to B in a basic way. Another really basic one that you tend to get oftentimes when you come out of the hospital is something like this. It's just, one of your most basic rigid plastic or whatever. They're made from braces. This one here is custom molded for my leg. Fairly rigid. I mean, it's good to kind of hold you in place, but once you attempt to do any walking, well, you can see what's going to happen there. You're not really going to be able to do much. So it's really going to just hold you like that. You can get various levels of these. you know, I've had some, I don't have them anymore, that are very flexible. So you get a little more movement, but then you end up breaking them because they're more flexible, right? Besides to this one, well, you collect the back of your leg real easily, right? So you'll definitely want to wear a sock with this one. It's also not particularly comfortable sometimes, depending on the back of your foot. It doesn't really help with, you know, any kind of dorsiflexion or you know, pickup of the foot. It's kind of really just a temporary something to kind of hold you and keep you out of trouble for, you know, time being, but it's not really something that you're going to be able to do a lot of walking, running, or any of the above in. So yeah, I still have it. I kind of use it sometimes as a night splint, just, yeah, if I ever need it. So those are a couple of first things that I used. I don't have all the braces that I've ever used. Again, I've had this for 10 years, so I've not kept everything over the time. Used or I trialed rather, what's called Insightful Products Step Smart Brace, which is kind of maybe somewhere in between both of those, where it kind of has a hinge on the back of it, and you know, it provides some return. It didn't work that well, to be honest, in my opinion. One of the things that I did settle on is this. So this is a, it's called, it's made by, was it made by Dynamic Walk? I can't remember who it's made by. Anyways, it is called a Smart Step drop foot brace. And as you can see, it's got a carbon fiber plate, carbon fiber piece up here, and it's connected by these rods, which are flexible. So you can see what's going on there. You wrap that around your foot, slip that one in the shoe, and yeah, it certainly gives you some dorsiflexion, and I've used these extensively for quite a few years. There's pros and cons to them. There is another version, which I prepared earlier for you. This one here. So it's 2 rods, one side, a little bit dusty, as you can tell. I don't use these anymore, but I did use them for quite a few years, maybe about 6 years maybe. This one, look, I didn't find it as good. Again, I have no inversion or eversion, so yeah, it doesn't control that stability as much. That's that one. This one here used quite a bit, and I can show you one that I've used quite a lot. Yeah, it's in a few pieces now. Anyways, that's what happens, things wear out. So pros and cons. Start with the good things. It certainly gives you some return. It's very lightweight, and you know, it's not overly bulky, you know, compared to maybe, you know, that the very basic one I showed you. It's considerably less bulky, less weight in it as well. It actually provides return. It is flexible to a certain extent. So yeah, you're not going to be just caught in a position. You're actually going to be able to move around. Done all kinds of things with these: hiking, running, walking, playing basketball, stuff like that. I eventually started covering the sides of these with tape, like a fabric tape, just to protect them, as well as when it was rubbing up against things. They do have to get fitted a little bit toward for you. So when you get them, whoever gets them for you, they can heat some of them just to kind of mold it a little bit to your foot and leg size. Yeah, that makes it just kind of hug your foot a little bit better. Some of the cons. So actually these actually come all the way like this. There's an entire kind of foot plate. But for me, I found that if I had that, I wasn't able to kind of bend my foot. So, you know, when you're planting your foot or pushing off from something, you are not able to really do that as well. So I tended just to cut off the end, file it back a little bit, and just, yeah, use my toes over the side so that I could actually, you know, have that flexibility in there, but be locked into the shoe, so that, you know, you can still have this going on. All right. So anyways, yeah, so some of the cons, but that's a modification you can do. Another big con, you really do need to go up a shoe size to fit that in. I've found no way around that personally for me. So I'd have to buy two pairs of shoes, my proper size for my right foot and a size up for the left foot to accommodate this, because this does, you know, it's wide through here. It needs a shoe size. Another con, these can start collecting on, you know, the back of your, you know, the side of your leg, and as well as up in here. You can see, you know, where things have worn through, where it's collecting kind of the side of my leg. So another big downside with these is just the very nature of how you strap them to, you know, your leg. So you can see here this strap holds the brace onto your leg up here, and then the shoe holds it down there. But what is it that all of us with drop foot don't have? Well, we don't really have that shin muscle, right? So there's no padding on this strap, which is, you know, an inherent issue with this, because once you tighten that up to kind of hold that in place, particularly, you know, if you want to do something active, it starts wearing on your skin and wearing against an area that there's no padding. It's right on the bone effectively. So that's always going to be an inherent flaw in this particular, or maybe flaw is a harsh word. It's just something that will always be a problem, right? So eventually I gave up this style of brace, and the reason was probably twofold. One of them is, well, you know, they're a little bit bulky and uncomfortable. The other one is my muscles. So I found it helped me, but at a certain point I was wondering if it was hindering me. I still have plantar flexion, and this was actually hindering my plantar flexion quite a bit. And I had my leg just wasn't as strong as I thought it could be or should be. So that's where I thought, well, maybe I need to try something else. I couldn't find anything really that I wanted, so I adapted something for use, which I then used for probably a couple years, maybe a year and a half, who knows. I'll just show you what that is. So essentially this, which is, I think they're relatively available and relatively cheap too. It's really just an ankle brace, right? So you put that on your foot, strap that around, strap this around for added bracing. And what I did was I did a little modification to this, which was, you see this strap here that sits over the top. So once you pull that through, like so, I put this around it. And what I would do is a little mod to my footwear. So that would sit here. It would provide me the ankle support, so I wouldn't roll. I tend to wear mids or high tops. And what I did was I would just sew a little strap. I don't know if you can see that there. Just a little strap onto the inside of the tongue. And I would then use, you'll often see them in camping stores or something like that. It's for backpacks and things like that, but it's a very solid metal brace. Put that in there. You can imagine what's going on here. Your foot's like that. And here we go. So this I used for quite a while, maybe, you know, year and a half, 2 years, and didn't like provide proper dorsiflexion, but the thing was I was able to push off do a lot of movement in them because they're soft, and because of that, it forced my leg and the muscles that did work to start needing to work. I saw a significant amount of strengthening in my leg by using the soft braces, by not stopping myself from, being able to plant my leg and do those kinds of things. That to me has been a significant positive step in the last few years to be where I'm at with it all. Obviously these have their downsides too. They don't fully provide everything that you need. You do need to modify your shoes just a little bit so that it's got something to kind of brace and hold itself on, as you can see. But they get me out of trouble for a little while. They're nice and discreet. You don't have to have a brace that's showing. You can walk around, nobody knows, which is kind of a cool thing. You can wear your work clothes or put them inside boots, or put them inside whatever it is, and just roll around pretty discreetly like that. So where am I at now? Well, I use primarily two different braces at the moment. Is this. This is called a AFO. It is made from silicone. It is molded to your size, so you have to do a cast, or a casting rather, so that they can make it to you. And this has silicone inside it. So this is what I'm wearing primarily at the moment. It's got good and bad to it as well. Everything does. But this has been my experiences with it. So the fantastic thing about this is one of the most discreet braces you can wear. You can put that on, put a sock over it, no one will even know you're wearing it. Doesn't take up very much space, relatively lightweight. If you need to carry a couple of these around on a trip, you can easily throw one of these in your in your luggage. And unlike some of the other ones, which are quite big, where you're worried about breaking, I never worry about that kind of thing with this. When you wear something like this, it can wear on your skin a little bit in here, so they do suggest to put a little bit of powder inside to have your foot being able to slide around. However, I found that was kind of pointless because you start sweating, the powder goes away, you're going to rub your whatever part raw that's touching the silicone. My solution to that is one of these guys. So go to the ladies section, get yourself a pair of tights. I cut off the end. I just slipped that in. This is 30 denier, I think that's how it's pronounced. You put that on the inside and you wear that kind of like a sock on the inside, and then I never have problems with it rubbing on anything. These are relatively inexpensive. You can pick them up for 3 or 4 of them for $5 or whatever. This, however, is not inexpensive. That's probably one of the big downsides to it. They're a few $1,000s depending on where you get them from. So that's definitely a downside. Pros, you can wear that in the surf. You can wear that swimming. You can wear that in the ocean. I live not too far from the ocean, so that's really important to me. No problem. Just wipe it off, when you're done and done. Whereas with the other ones, you go into the ocean with something like that, it's going to mess it up real quickly, corrode it, all the rest of it. No worries with something like that. It also provides the ankle support that you need. Maybe not as much as a more rigid one, but enough that you've got the flexibility in it. For use, I find that I can still get that plantar flexion happening, and I've used them on hiking, running, sports, water sports, things like that. It's fantastic for me. So downsides to these is you definitely don't want to be inactive for long periods of time wearing this. I find that it starts, your foot might swell a little bit in it because there is a little bit of restriction on the foot. So if you're not very active, I find that can start becoming a little bit annoying sometimes. Again, my experience might be different to other people's experiences, but I find that if I'm going to be sitting down for maybe hours at a time or doing a long drive or something like that, over 4 or 5 hours or something like that, I might actually want to just take that off while I'm doing that, so I don't experience that kind of that maybe that swelling or restriction on the foot. That's probably my biggest downside with this. Probably doesn't have maybe as much dorsiflexion as maybe with this other brace, which I'll show you. So this is the Extern, very popular brace. People talk about it a lot. I almost never use it. Why? I find it kind of bulky. I find it has, again, this inherent problem up here. So it's going to restrict you up here at the top on your leg, where, again, we don't have that muscle to begin with. I know it's got padding, which is supposed to help, which, does help a little bit, but it doesn't help enough if you actually kind of want to tamp that down enough. And yeah, you can definitely catch this on stuff, because it's on the outside of the shoe. I'll show you with a hiking boot. You put it in there, attach that, and yeah, essentially that's how that works. And that's fairly all right. I find it actually good with this particular high top boot. Again, though, this is where it's going to start wearing on your leg and becoming a little bit annoying. And it's certainly not a discreet thing. It's certainly not something you're going to be rolling around and nobody noticing that you're wearing it. But it has its place, I suppose. One time where it did really help me, however, was when I did roll my ankle when I wasn't wearing any brace at all. It was very swollen, so I wasn't able to wear this, and so I wore that. So if people are experiencing a lot of swelling or lack of circulation and things like that, then maybe something like that is better for you. I find I get that if I'm not super active, maybe for an entire day, then I might get a little bit of swelling or stuff like that. So that's what a pro of that. The other great thing is, you can just put your foot into a shoe and feel the bottom of your foot, well, as much as you can feel, inside the shoe, which is a fantastic sensation and something you kind of lose a little bit after years of wearing all these different AFOs and stuff like that. But overall, I'm pretty happy with this one. Actually, quite grateful for this one because it does pretty much everything that I personally need and want, and it keeps up with me. I did a 20-kilometer hike over this week. No problems. It's a great thing to have. Swimming, going to the beach, being in a sandy environment. So anyways, that's kind of some of my thoughts on some of the current braces and AFOs that are on the market at the moment. I hope this was helpful. Really interested to hear if anyone else has had any success with anything else, what their thoughts are, and I hope everyone has a fantastic day. And add a comment if you have any thoughts about it, or if you want to hear any more about any of these braces or AFOs that I've spoken about today.